Understand you got a bad battery. You want to know how to change it? No problem. We're going to show you on this segment of our show how to change out a battery and be safe about it. Number one is safety. Remember that. These batteries are dangerous, so we've got to know how to do it the right way.
Right. Now, tell me a little bit about batteries. That's what I would like to know.
Okay, no problem. Here we go. We got two different types of batteries that you're probably going to run into when you go to change a battery. You're going to have, number one, a top post battery. This is a top post. Pay close attention to this, and I'll turn this battery over so that you can get a good shot of it. I want to show you the plus sign. That plus sign means positive. That's your current wire. It's also got a red cap for safety on it. Over on this side, you got a negative sign. That means the ground side. Very important. Top post, about 700 amps in this thing. On this particular battery, this is a side post battery. Same circumstances, 700 cranking amps in this one. I'll turn it back so you can see it. There's your positive sign. Positive means that's your hot wire. Negative is your ground. Very important to remember that. This is a safety issue. When we go to the battery, I'll explain to you why that's so important and why this rascal has the red cap on it and this one does not have to have one.
One thing I did hear about, though, is that you should never smoke or have any kind of flame around these. That's like an important thing to know.
Yep, absolutely. If you smoke or do any kind of have any flame around the top of a battery, there's sulfuric acid inside these batteries, and it's volatile. It will explode. So we want to make sure we don't have any arcs, anything of this nature, any large pieces of metal going between these two, and we will cover that when we go to put the battery in just a few minutes.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and go put the battery in.
Okay, here we go. Let's get it going. Okay, this is a 2005 Toyota Celica. This is one that the tech happened to already check out, and he's found that the battery's bad in his car. Said it has a dead cell. So this will be a good example. Plus, it's an easy one to get to that I can change. We don't want nothing hard. Although, being said that, there's a lot of different places they can put these batteries.
And do they charge you? I mean, if you're going to do this?
Most places will have to charge something to put a battery in because a lot of them are hard to do. This is very easy, and if you go to a lot of your auto stores or even some of your service centers, they will put them in for free. But a lot of things, as you know, are not free. Yeah. So some of these things can cost you quite a bit. So you have to be careful of where you go, and make sure that they tell you if they tell you have a bad battery, you need to make sure that you got a bad battery. There's been many a battery replaced that did not need to be replaced, and we run into that not every day, but just about every day.
So sometimes when the battery is being replaced, that doesn't fix the problem.
It doesn't fix the problem. You got a bad alternator, short, whatever. Or sometimes just you don't right in your car zone. So make sure you know what you're doing before you do it. And like I say, if you don't want to do this yourself, you can go to a lot of different places that they will do it for nothing, or they'll do it for a minimal charge to replace this battery.
Yeah, before we get started, tell me about some of the safety stuff before we get to going on this thing. Let's find out what kind of safety things.
That's a good question. Well, one, I'm just playing with my safety glasses here. This is the most important thing you got to have.
Right.
These rascals right here. There's battery acid, and like we talked about earlier, in this battery, we do not want that stuff to get on our clothing, or on our skin, or especially in our eyes. So always wear a pair of safety glasses because it's very important to have them. With just about anything you do around a car, it's nice to have.
Let me ask you a question. I see this corrosion and stuff right here.
We're going to clean that off. This comes from just old battery acid. This battery is old. And a lot of times when a battery gets old, that's when this stuff will start to build up.
Okay.
So when you start seeing that develop on a battery, you better start thinking about replacing it because it's beginning to get to the end of its life cycle. So, so when we take these off, we're going to clean them up good before we replace it.
Just out of curiosity, how long does a battery last? Usually when you get it new?
Yeah.
How long does that usually last?
Normally it's 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years?
Okay. But a lot of batteries, you'll find that they'll push it on up to even 5, 6, 7 years sometimes.
So once you hit about 3.5, you're getting in that range.
You're getting in the range, and if it gets to be really cold weather, where like we don't want to come out of that bed when it's cold in the morning. This car does not want to turn over very well. So a lot of times that you'll have to, when you get a battery, it's got about 4 years of age, it's going to start showing up on you, right? And also remember one other thing. This is in a pretty good location, like I talked about. A lot of batteries, when you go to find your battery, you can't find it.
It's not always under the hood.
Not under this either. A lot of them are underneath the fender well. Some are underneath the back seat. Some are in the trunk. So find your battery first. You may have to go to an owner's manual or ask someone that's got a technical book that can show you that.
Gotcha,
okay?
Gotcha.
So let's go ahead and get this battery out of here.
All right.
Safety glasses on. First thing we're going to do, we're going to take this negative cable off first.
And we'll take that off first. Why?
Because what we want to do here is we want to separate this battery, this voltage from this battery, from this car. Okay. And by doing this, I take this negative cable off, and now that I've done this, I have separated the battery from the car.
So there's no chance of you getting shocked?
No chance of getting shocked, not quite yet. Here we go. This is our positive lead, and you can see we got a lot of acid on this battery. This thing's been here for a long time. It's an old battery. So we want to make sure that what we got to do, we're going to clean them up very good. Another point to remain now, if I take and touch this wrench between the positive and negative, even if it's an old battery, it has a lot of amperage still in this battery. We want to make sure that this does not happen, because you will find it'll arc very violently. Okay. And you could cause the whole top of this battery to blow off in your face.
Gotcha.
And the reason I take this negative cable off is that now, if I happen to accidentally touch this wrench to any part of the ground, if it happens to be touched to, nothing will happen to it, because I've separated with this negative cable being off.
So
okay?
There's a statement you said before about where it's negative off, positive on.
Negative off, positive on is a good way to explain that. That's true. When you're going to change the battery, our motto is negative off first, positive on first.
Gotcha.
Keep that. Just keep it in mind, and then you're pretty safe with it. So very important. Safety glasses. Make sure the negative battery cable comes off first. Make sure all this stuff is cleaned up really nicely before you do it. And while we're doing this, we'll say one more thing about a battery. When I get this battery out, what do we do with it?
You take it to, you take it to get it recycled?
You can
take it back to the dealership? Or
you can take it to a recycling center. The one thing you don't want to do is throw it in a dumpster, which a lot of people unfortunately do. Do not do that. Just don't throw it away. Take it back to where you bought your new battery. Put it in a recycling area where it's nice and safe, and it can be recycled, and the lead inside this battery can be used. On this particular one, on this positive cable, I'm going to use a pair of battery pliers. Some of these things are a little hard to get off, so you got to work them off back and forth a few times and get it off, and we're with the acid we've got coming on this battery, okay? So we're going to keep that out of the way. Now that it's been disconnected, let's take the mounting bracket off. And they are different too. You got to decide what you've got to have. This happens to be a 10mm wrench. All I've got to have to pull this one off. Just look at it, and it's not that hard to take off. Okay, that's off. Okay, we're ready to take this battery out of here. Now I'm going to grab it with my pliers and get it out of here. It's the simplest way for me to do it. You do it any way you have to, and out it comes. Okay. All right. Make sure we clean this battery acid off good. We have our safety glasses on for that stuff that's going to spray everywhere.
What tool is this you're using right
This is just a wire brush that's made for doing this job. You don't have to have this. You can take some baking soda, even soap and water, and a wire brush works just fine. Okay. It'll just pull it right off of here. Get it off good.
Now, just out of curiosity, does the corrosion ever get so bad on these things that you have to replace the cables that come up into it?
Yes, they do. A lot of times you'll have to actually replace the cable, but and you know, sometimes we can save the cable. You don't want to have to do it. It just raises the cost of the repair, but there again, we don't want to do a bad job. We want to make sure we get it to the point where
no one wants it to stall out on a cold morning.
No, that would be not a good thing at all.
Wow, that made a difference.
Yep, it cleans it up pretty good. There's our negative cable. There's our positive cable. Okay. Now I've cleaned the box out pretty good. We've got all that acid out of there. You can take, if you have the availability to some water, you can take and get some water and run down in here. That'll help clean it out that much more. Okay, so now we've done this. We get these cables out of the way, and we're ready to put our battery in. Okay. Got to get the bracket on good and tight. Remember, be careful. We don't want this wrench to touch these two posts. Okay.
So now, when you get it secured, then.
Okay, that's it.
All right.
Now remember what we said. Which one we're going to put back on first?
We're going to put the positive on because it's negative off, positive on. said was you put the positive on first, but take the negative off.
That's correct. That's exactly what we're going to do. So here goes the positive on the car. Nice and clean. Ought to work just fine.
That's a very big difference you got there.
Yep. Get this one tightened up. You're better off to use a wrench if you can. In some cases, especially dealing with a battery, it's a good old battery plier. Certainly work wonders.
Hey, where would you get these battery pliers if you need them?
Pretty much any auto repair store you'll find. Pretty much any place they sell batteries, battery cable ends. Here goes the negative. The negative goes on last. Keeping in mind that this thing is now hot all the way across, so we don't want to touch anything dealing with this positive cable anywhere with this car at this point. Because now that we've hooked our negative cable back up, it's now in contact with this car. Okay.
And so that's it in terms of putting it together?
All right, we're a done deal here. Hopefully this thing will crank and everything will be all right, and this particular customer will be satisfied with the job.
I hope so. One question I want to ask before you try and start it up.
Yeah.
Now, when you've taken the battery out, let's say you have like a computer system or like a security system that might have been powered from this.
Yeah.
Is there something you should keep in mind with that?
Yeah, a lot of cars, that's a good question, because a lot of cars, they have this security code located in the radios and even in your ECM systems, your electronic control modules. This is going to reset everything inside that car. Some of your ECM systems have to relearn what this car is all about because it forgets. And so in doing so, sometimes the car don't run quite right until you run it down the road a couple of blocks. The ECM will relearn, the engine starts to perform adequately again.
Now, you said something
the battery also for that radio. A lot of radios have security codes in it. That's an anti-theft device they have on them. If you put a battery in your car and your radio don't work, it's going to come up and say code on your radio. Hopefully you'll know that code. If you don't, you'll have to contact your dealership or your auto center to retrieve that code and enter it back into that radio. Look in your owner's manual. Sometimes they're there.
Okay.
Okay?
So let's
give this thing a shot.
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay, well, we must have done something right. It's working okay, so good luck on changing your battery. Be careful what you do. Make sure you use all the safety devices, and remember, don't throw it in a dumpster. Put it back where it should be.
Recycle
where it should go. Recycle it.
Hey, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. Yep.